How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. The crypto market and the stock market is down a little bit here today, down 1.5% or so for a couple different reasons, which we're going to cover today. Some economic data, some earnings results. But then I want to talk about something big that could be happening in the next 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, actually. And there's some 4D chess that's being played in the crypto market right now between the US and China. So we have to cover that, explain what could happen, so that way you can position yourself moving forward for that big day. So if you don't mind, hitting the subscribe button underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. Some of these are pretty timely, so hit the bell notification so you know right when I post a video. There are also links down there in case you want to know when I'm buying and selling. I can post on the Patreon a lot faster than I can post on YouTube. You can check out that top link underneath the video. There's also a link to Margex in case you want a long or short, especially if you're outside the US. You should definitely consider signing up and depositing there. You can go long and short on margin there and leverage if you're comfortable with that. Now, the whole crypto market is down 1.6% here today. Bitcoin's down 1.3%, really just in that $24,000 to $25,000 range, but a lot of the altcoins are falling down a little bit more. Polygon Matic, notable at about -6%. Now, I've been talking about why you really want Polygon for the next bull run, and even in my last video, I believe I said I really like it, but I'm not buying. I actually sold recently. Last week, I sold 3% of my portfolio because I did think that it was overheated, and these typically do revert to the mean, and now it's falling down a little bit here today. Now, Bitcoin is stuck in this range. Over the last 4 or 5 days, we've really just been going between 23,500 to 25.2, and you can see yesterday, we got rejected again for the third time above 25,000, and really the third day in a row that we've gotten rejected right around 25,000 and then come back down. So if we can flip this, obviously, I say this a lot, but as soon as we flip this and go above it and test it and flip it into support, that could be really positive for crypto, and a lot of alts will probably run at that point. Now, Matic, I should just hit on for a second because as I said, I do really think it's going to be a good crypto to hold for the next bull run. We do have pretty significant support at $1.35. You can see back here, we tested it as support a couple times, and then in the previous run-up, we got hit with resistance right around there. So we had seen early February a couple rejections there. So that is going to be a key level to watch. Maybe a good time to put in a long if you're willing to long, that is. Now, we do have some big news about Polygon laying off a good number of workers here today, which I want to talk about further in the video. Now, the market is down, like I said, here today for a couple different reasons. First of all, we do have the 10-year treasury going up, which is an indication of a couple different things. First of all, investors can get a much higher yield then on the 10-year, which means less people might be likely to go put money in risk assets. And it did move up a pretty decent amount here today, which causes equities to go down just because of that risk-free rate of return. Also signifies that mortgage prices might be on the way up. And we saw U.S. existing home sales come in today, and they declined in January. They record a 37% year-over-year collapse. So you can see that they were actually expecting to reveal a 2% month-over-month rebound, but instead it tumbled 0.7%. So this is actually a 2.7% change, it sounds like. So this was the 12th straight monthly decline, with December's 1.5% decline actually revised worse to 2.2% month-over-month. So again, this really shows the soft market for real estate. Again, just a 2.7% change versus the expected, or the 2.7% difference month over month, and then a 0.7% revision as well. So this really is hurting, or showing the hurt in the real estate market. We also have a speech from Putin here today, and he's just being very aggressive. I mean, you can read through some of these comments, but he vows to continue Ukraine military operation. We have attempted every opportunity for peace. Only the United States has hundreds of military bases around the world. They started this war. We used our power to stop the war. Ukraine attempted to acquire nuclear weapons. Ukraine is being held hostage by the West. Let's skip down to some of these other ones. And he's basically just trying to rally the troops. It seems like a lot of this is misinformation, obviously, but some people might not know that. We will use this experience to strengthen the Army and Navy. The West's sanctions on Russia only affected the West. The West has stolen our gold and FX reserves. The Russian economy has proven to be stronger than the West thought. They talk about how our GDP was only down 2.2%. The West expected a total collapse. He continues to talk more and more about this kind of thing, but basically just rallying the troops, spreading propaganda, and sounding like they are not going to give up in Ukraine for a while. We also got earnings reports from Walmart and Home Depot. Now, this is Home Depot. They fell short in sales estimates, and this is due to a drop in lumber costs, which caused a surge in price during the nationwide shortages in fiscal 2021. The drop in lumber negatively impacted comparable sales by 0.7%. So Home Depot not giving a great outlook moving forward. Walmart, very similar. They say there's a great deal of uncertainty. They had a double beat, a pretty considerable double beat, with EPS coming in at $1.71 versus $1.53. But they said that the company projects that the adjusted earnings will decline by as much as 6.2% in the current fiscal year. This will be the second year in a row that they've actually had lower profits coming in. Their guidance wasn't real positive either. They say there's a great deal of uncertainty looking out to the balance of the year. There's still pressure on the consumer as such. Our guidance reflects a cautious outlook on the macroeconomic environment. So two companies not giving great outlooks for earnings over the next year, which I think is obviously causing the market to fall down. And I think that is more the reason than anything else. The fact is, when existing home sales comes in low, that just shows that the Fed is more likely to flip. But when companies start projecting earnings declining, that causes the market to get a little fearful, because yes, that also increases the chance that the Fed might flip because there might be less inflation, but also that causes people to be worried that, hey, earnings per share estimates are going to be off for a variety of companies, and maybe we're not getting as good a deal as we expected. At the same time, the 10-year treasuries are going up. Maybe we should flip back into something like a treasury. So that, I think, is what's causing the market to fall down. Now, Bitcoin and crypto, I think, is a little bit of a different story. Obviously, they are affected by the overall stock market. But I think right now we're just really trying to gain strength and push above 25,000. We also had news of inflation in Canada falling to 5.9% in January from 6.3% in December. And this is just coming in today. This obviously is positive. That the overall trend is that we continue to fall down. And if this continues, stocks will move up eventually. Crypto will most likely move up as well. But this is kind of a slow burn. I mean, we're month to month on this. We just got news of Polygon laying off a good number of workers and a good number of employees. But let's go through what Sandeep says, one of the co-founders of Polygon, and he just announces Polygon has grown exponentially. To continue on the path of stupendous growth, we have crystallized our strategy for the next 5 years to drive mass adoption of Web3 by scaling Ethereum. Our treasury remains healthy with a balance of $250 million and over 1.9 billion Matic. So, I mean, we're talking about 2.2 or $2.5 billion worth of Matic. A big part of the strategy includes unifying all of the teams under Polygon Labs to drive more growth. As part of this consolidation process, we've made the difficult decision to reduce our team by 20%, impacting multiple teams and about 100 positions. Impacted employees will receive 3 months of severance pay regardless of their level or tenure at Polygon Labs. Now, something they don't talk about here is the fact that they do have over $100 million in their venture fund as well. So they are very well capitalized. I still think Polygon is one of the best cryptos to hold for the next bull run, but this doesn't stop them from having to cut down on unused employees or employees that won't be in their future. They won't need them as much in the future. So I think it only makes sense to lay off employees that you don't need. I mean, I don't know how this will affect crypto and Matic specifically, but in the stock market recently, when companies have been laying off workers, this has caused people to actually be more bullish. Now, I think it is slightly different because in the equities market, you want to make sure that your companies are highly profitable, and that's something that's still positive for crypto. That's still positive when the companies are still going to be able to build and are cash flow positive. But with a company like this that has so much cash, and they still have a relatively small team when you consider it compared to a lot of other companies, right? They have 500 employees, it sounds like, and they have over $2 billion worth of cash and securities, if you include Matic, on their balance sheet. The fact is they do have a long runway, but I still think that it's good that they're thinking about being as efficient as possible. And maybe it's not the bear market that's doing this necessarily, but we have seen a lot of other companies lay off workers, so I think it's coming as less of a surprise to a lot of crypto investors. I would really like to see what exactly they want to do for their 5-year plan going forward. I don't believe they actually lay it out here, but hopefully we'll get that news here soon. There's big news that could be coming here in as little as 2 weeks for crypto. And stay with me here because you're going to roll your eyes at first. But according to Andrew, which he has posted a lot of really good data and a lot of really good information on Binance, FTX, a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes in crypto. They say more chatter that Grayscale will be poised to win this appeal case versus the SEC on March 7, turning GBTC into a proper spot Bitcoin ETF. Legal minds believe their brief is powerful and the court may be prone to pushing back on regulatory overreach. Those same legal minds believe if Grayscale were to lose, they could consider taking the case to the Supreme Court and even have a better chance of winning. I want to be clear on this. We have been waiting for an ETF for a very long time, since before I was even in crypto. But last crypto bull run, there was a lot of talk about how that would really be what pushed us over 100,000. And it seems like this is just continuously pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. I'm not putting a ton of weight into this. However, Hong Kong is now being allowed to trade cryptocurrencies. And we've talked about this. There's a lot of money that possibly could come in from China. China is basically giving the green light for Hong Kong specifically to start trading cryptos. Now, maybe they'll go back on their word and ban cryptos in a year or two at the top of the bull run. But they're saying basically as long as they are not taking away from China's power, they're allowing this to happen. Now, why do you think China is starting to allow this? Do you think it's because the pressure just grew to such a tipping point that they had to let people start buying crypto again? And this is retail clients as well, not just big institutions. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that this was the tipping point. I think they did this very strategically. They realized that the SEC is cracking down on crypto and kind of in a tailspin, right? Trying to ban BUSD, new issuance, cracking down on Kraken and staking, and really having an egg on their face due to FTX. I think they realize that the US is losing control or trying to gain control back so aggressively that they're putting off a lot of crypto companies, and China realizes that they can be a safe haven. China wants to do different policy changes to strengthen their position and to weaken the US's, obviously. So I think they are doing this, seeing that they can offer a safe haven while the US is pushing companies out. Now, that's where we come back to this. This could be a turning point. The US could see, okay, if we approve a Bitcoin ETF, less people will be likely to use exchanges. That would be safer. We can also approve this and then take some control back from what China's trying to do as well. This could be a tipping point, and this could send us on a gigapump to the next Bitcoin halving. This could send us up really quickly. Now, I don't want to talk about how high we can move, but as you know, if there's a Bitcoin ETF, people can start buying that passively in retirement accounts. Makes it much easier for the normal person to buy Bitcoin, and it's actually being bought off the markets, pushing up the price. They would actually hold the Bitcoin, which, like I said, could be really positive. Now, Grayscale is in a bit of a tough spot. I think this could be a big move for them. This could also help DCG because this could bring in a lot of money. I hope that if they do this, they aren't too aggressive with the fees. With the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust right now, I believe it's 2%, which is really high. But hopefully, this could cause the price of Bitcoin to move up, especially if this gets approved. Hopefully it gives people better access to Bitcoin, which I think it would. And it could also get DCG out of a sticky spot as well. Could bid up or could get the discount back to even or closer to even. So we'll have to see how this all works out, but we only have 2 weeks to wait. Either way, though, Hong Kong is jumping into crypto or allowing people to jump into crypto, which I think will calm down the SEC, unless the SEC just had those 2 or 3 things planned last week, and that was it. It seems a little bit odd now that they're laying off the gas, unless they are just being cautious because of China allowing crypto to, bud and bloom back in China again. So I think there's definitely a chance that the SEC could just be taking a step back now, seeing the 4D chess that's being played and being a little bit more cautious about pissing off more crypto companies. The last thing I want to talk about, Toyota will begin producing mid to large size SUVs at their Kentucky plant as early as the summer of 2025, aiming for a monthly output of more than 10,000 by the year end. Now, 10,000 per month, that's a big goal. I think the first year, I know that they are already a pretty big car company, well, one of the biggest car companies, if not the biggest car company in the world in terms of cars sold. They're maybe overshooting. I think that a lot of companies don't realize how hard it is to start producing EVs. Even Ford and GM are having a tough time. There are a lot of issues. They have to recall. It's very expensive. But then they're aiming to sell 1 million EVs globally by 2026. So they're basically saying that they want to 10x from 2025 to 2026. I think there's not really a good chance that's going to happen, but hopefully more companies do start selling EVs, because I think otherwise they'll probably go out of business because EVs are getting less and less expensive. And there are a ton of EV incentives too, so this is really the time to try to start producing EVs. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video, though. Do you think there's a chance that we could get an ETF, or do you think that this Hong Kong narrative will continue to play out and we will bump past 25,000 and turn back into support? Let me know your thoughts underneath the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.